I'm really excited to have Temi with us here today. We're going to be talking about Temi getting her first rent-to-rent deals. In our rent-to-rent Kickstarter coaching, Temi's 4 weeks in. Temi's got her first deal and it's all signed up. And we'll talk all about the deal and Temi and how she did it right now. So, Temi, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Right, so let's go back to the beginning, Temi, to a few weeks ago. It was just after Christmas coming into New Year.
Yeah.
And before you, what made you sort of want to go into rent-to-rent in the first place?
So I was a bit confused because I haven't got enough savings to start to get my own HMO.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading different strategies on what to do, sourcing, lease options, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more interested in rent to rent, but it sounded impossible. I felt it was quite like there's no way anybody would hand their property to me and them knowing that I'm going to rent individual rooms. So I was a bit like, this is not possible, but let me just try. So I went on YouTube and I searched rent to rent, and your videos came up. And it became addictive. So I was watching your videos.
When you were at that stage and you were thinking, because you knew quite a lot about rent-to-rent by then.
Yeah.
What was worrying you about making it work for yourself?
The two things that I was worried about was choosing the location,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure I'm not doing anything that is legalizing things, making sure I'm not doing anything that could get me into trouble.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be assured that I'm doing everything, I'm compliant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were three things. I knew it was location, being compliant, then the documentations. I didn't know where to start from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think those were my three.
Yeah, that's a good ones. Well, I know that a lot of people are worried, and tell me if you were worried about actually speaking to the letting.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
So tell me how you felt about that before and how you overcame it to actually,
I think the whole rent to rent, apart from my three main things that I wanted to clarify, my personality, the major thing about me is marketing, like making that phone call and talking to. My words just stop. They just don't come. They're dangling in my head and nothing comes out. So, and I just, especially when I'm not sure of what I'm doing or when I don't know what I'm doing, the words just don't come out. And I have a very shy part of me. I get really shy. So those two, everything just stood against me. So while I was doing the paperwork, I enjoyed doing paperwork. And I knew that was in like my weakest. That just keeps going. Even if you do all this, you still cannot talk. You still cannot go to those landlords and speak to them and all that. And I think after consolidating all the work, I realized that actually I need to try and make this phone call and see, because if I cannot make that phone call, then there's no point. And I think just trying, even though I haven't finished with a lot of things, I think I faced my fear earlier than, because that was like my weakest, the weakest part of me.
I wanted to ask about that because, for most people, I think that's the big fear is, one of the things you said earlier, why would a landlord give their property to me? And B, what am I going to say with a letting agent? Or when the landlords call me, what am I going to say? But there's this sort of fear, but you overcame it.
I remember the first week I tried making the phone calls. The first agent I spoke to, God, it was like going for an interview. And he just kept asking me questions. Like I explained to him, he said, oh, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. So I tried to convince him. Then later I said, oh, I haven't got any property. Then I made another phone call. That was a bit stressful, I'll be honest. I made it sound easier than it was. I think after I was like, this is not for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Another number of an agent I called, and I made the phone call, and it was like, oh, can you meet up tomorrow? It was like two different world. And yeah, I met him the following day. He showed me, I think it was quite a nice, he was a nice guy. So he showed me around like 3 properties that day, but none of it was the model I wanted. So I just told him, no. I think there was one that actually interests me, but I got home and I did the deal analysis, and I wasn't going to make as much as I want to. So I think I made 3 phone calls during that week before I had the phone call from the second agent again that I might like this property, and that was it.
Okay, great. And then tell us about the call where the magic happened.
So he called. Actually, I think I was the one that called him to say if he's got anything. He shouldn't. I think I just called to check on him or something. And if he's going, I said, oh yeah, I've got this property that I've not even put it up yet. That if you want to come and have a look. So I went. It was a student area, and a 4-bed. It was 3 double upstairs, and 2 reception downstairs. So already one of the reception is made up to a room because it's a student area. And the landlord was managing it himself. So he decided that he wants to rent it as a whole house, and he doesn't, because he's got a project coming up this year. So he said while the project is coming up, he wants to rent it. So anyway, he said, if I like, so I checked it and I like the property. So he said he'll book an appointment with the landlord and
with the letting agent.
Yeah, I met the letting agent. The letting agent showed me the house.
Yeah.
So when I told him that it was what I wanted, and it was a bit higher than what I planned anyway. So I told him that I'll send my offer in and then we should speak to the landlord. So he saw the offer and I think he spoke to the landlord and he said the landlord wanted to meet you. So yeah, I think that was the tough one. So I went to the landlord. It was another interview because he's had few people turn like guaranteed rent. He just said there's few people that's come to me for the same proposal that I don't know why. So he kept asking me, how are you going to guarantee my rent? I think he asked me like 7 times and I kept saying different or the same things. And maybe he wanted to know me more because I couldn't say more than what I was telling him, the business model. I've got people that could support me. We do the referencing, blah, blah, blah. So I did try to convince him. Then I think he later now said, okay, just go for the second view. Go and view the property again with the agent and then come back with all the paperwork. So he told me to, and I think, yeah. So I went back last week, Thursday. And he was happy. I thought he was going to say no again. Then I spent an hour with him. And then that was it.
That's fantastic. I think it's quite inspiring for people to see, and certainly you've inspired me as well, to see how quick it can happen. That you can just be, from a start, you're just thinking about getting your bank account and everything set up, and within 4 weeks, you've got your first deal. So I think it is inspiring that you've just taken it on. And it's not like you weren't scared. You know.
I'm still scared.
Oh, you're still scared? It's not like you weren't scared, but you just went for it. And that's what I love about you, Temi. And you've really taken everything that, all the information that you've been given, and you've gone and, you've done it. And like you said, it's not about perfection, it's about progression. And it's amazing how much experience you get in quite a short period of time, like you're with your 4 weeks. And but I just love it because it's so exciting, it's so transformational. But I get so much joy that you have got this deal. And I do want to say to people that actually Temi is making good money on this deal.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's only a 4-bed, and she'll be making at least £400 a month. So it's a fantastic deal. super proud of what you've achieved. Is there anything that you want to leave people with, Temi, just before we sign off?
Another thing I would say is the deal analysis check. It's really good, and I would say please use it, because I tried using the numbers I had in my head were totally different, but when I wrote it down in the checks, the result it brought out was just like, this is really good, and it's reassuring as well. So I would say don't rely on the numbers you've got in your head. Try and break it down, because it does.
That is an absolutely fantastic point. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and just chat with us tonight. I'm so happy and pleased for you. And
thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the support. It's been wonderful, I would say. It's been wonderful.